Hey guys, welcome to another session of RBTL. This one's a pretty big one. This is mostly going to be talking about Montmorancy and her specialty change, and we're just going to kind of go through this. It's my initial thoughts on her specialty change, and so far so good. She's definitely looking more promising than the previous, like, I don't know, like two specialty change heroes, which is one is Captain Ricorous, which is still really good, but I don't think I'm always thinking PvP, but she's like good in PvE and PvP. So one thing is new server, so there's also going to be a free equip event, but depends on when you watch this video. It might not be relevant for you. It's not as long as the previous one. It's only a weekend apparently, so if you need to rebuild, then now's the time. Again, check out the Discord server. I got tons of experienced players here, and we talk about gearing and builds all the time. So if you're new and you're watching this, you're just like, hey man, I kind of want some help on what to gear for. Definitely come and check us out. I know my my community be like, what the heck, Jagan, man, you're making me work harder. I'll be here as well, obviously, when I'm available to help you guys out in build and whatnot. Anyways, that's long story short. Just keep that in mind. Just the weekend, you get a free equip event, so now's a really good time to gear and also to push Abyss if you're new. So definitely do that. We have Araminta drop rate up. I wish I could just like talk about her for a really long time, but obviously this is a return, as in not a return banner, but she's already existing in the pool. So they're continuing on with their kind of like their promise of like bringing back old heroes. So I'm hopefully, we'll actually be able to see almost every hero. I myself don't have Araminta right now, and I'm actually half thinking if I want her. One, she's a mage, and I'm always looking for like another Toggle Ancient Book user, and she's actually pretty good. I'm thinking of using her in a support role because she can do an attack buff, but she's a really good damage dealer as well. I don't know. I'll think about it. If I do pull her, or maybe in the future I'll talk about her a bit more. I'll do a video on that, but for this RBTL I'll actually save it. If you want to find out more information on my thoughts on her, check out my top 10 heroes to reroll for. She is one of my top 10 in that list, so definitely check her out there. So I won't talk about her here as much. Anyways, we have Angelic Montmorancy. So my pronunciation for her name is based on when you pull her. She's like, I'm Montmorancy. That's it. It's always really weird for me to say it. But anyways, Angelic Montmorancy here. I'll call her Monty for short. That's what we're going for on Discord. I know people call her Montmo or Mont. I have no idea. Tons of weird nicknames. But anyways, we get the specialty change, and I took like a brief look at it, and my initial thoughts is just like, she's really impressive, not just for PvP, which is always my like default mindset, but for PvE as well. So if you have her, definitely specialty changer. I think she's gonna be as like influential, as in like game changing, as the original Falconer Cleary was. Although I wouldn't say as broken, because Falconer Cleary is more of I would say an offensive hero, as in like setting up debuffs and whatnot, but Montmorancy is more of like a defensive hero, while she can do some debuff. But so I mean, usually on a defensive side, especially if you're in control of them, they're never as, I don't know, from my opinion, never as influential as like an offensive. But I would say she's up there. If I'm gonna list like specialty change heroes, she seems to be like, maybe to me, a second best right now, after Cleary, even with Cleary's nerfs. But that's my thoughts on it. Definitely we'll have a discussion on this. So Earnest Prayer, after actually specially changing her, I believe that this writing is wrong. Not quite sure. I'm looking at the hero's journal. It reads that recover allies' health, grants immunity for 2 turns, while increasing combat readiness for the caster by 50%. Amount recovered in proportional to target's max health. Right here on the before awakening portion, it says recovers allies' health and grants immunity for 2 turns, dispelling 2 debuffs. Amount recovered proportional to max health. So I'm not quite sure what that is, because I don't know. In the journal, it doesn't have the dispelling 2 debuffs before awakening, and even after the actual like rune awakening, it doesn't have it. So I'm not quite sure. I'm assuming that this is the what's called the specialty change awakening skill here. So it recovers allies and grants immunity for 2 turns. Dispelling 2 debuffs also increase combat's readiness by 50%. Amount recovered proportional to caster's max health. I'm assuming the dispelling 2 debuffs portion is that. I remember she never had that before, and she only had the immunity. So people are saying that she's like a mini Angelica. But now apparently she's kind of like a mini Destina. Full debuff dispel, but only 2 of them. So you know, Destina can do like all of them, as many as you have. She can like full dispel all of them. She's better than Diene in this sense as well, because Diene can only dispel 1 of them. So this is pretty cool. And Diene's barrier, which is her S3, oh sorry, S2 rather. Barrier comes before the dispel. So if you have unbuffable debuff, you actually can't get that off. But in this case, I think it's grant immunity first and then dispelling it. So if you have unbuffable on you, let's say like Soul Bad Guy hits you, or Bazaar hits you, or some boss hits you with an unbuffable, you can't actually grant immunity on that turn. You have to dispel first and then loop all the way again till your cooldown is finished to grant the immunity, or Angelica or someone else supplement the immunity after. So you just have to keep that in mind. I think in the writing here, it is dispel the 2 debuffs after the immunity goes up first. So I think the only like, you know, non-benefit here would be the unbuffable debuff. Now whether if you have unhealable on you, that's another question, because the healing portion comes at the end of the dispel. So I'm not quite sure. I have to definitely test that, or you know, get my community members to test that, because sad thing is I don't have her. I need to pull her. She's like, what? How do you not have her? I used to have her SSS, but then I got kind of like hasty, and I think I transmissioned her for stones or whatever. Anyways, now I have to kind of go back and pull her. If I do get her, I will definitely specialty change her. Yeah, there's a teaching on the specialty change. The requirement's not too hard. I haven't looked into it, but if Azera has the spirits, which I'm pretty sure it does. Azera, I think, is like part 1 of the story, or chapter 1. So I think you should have it. Like you should be able to eliminate the spirits while getting the adventure points, like at the same time. If you do it on world difficulty, it's 8 adventure points per run. So I mean, you know, I don't know how many spirits or which map you're going to be farming. And shiny enhancements, I think, do drop, shiny enchantment rather, do drop from the spirits themselves. So it's going to be pretty straightforward grind. Yeah, it's not too difficult there. The specialty change runes. So the Rune Enhance, this is where it gets kind of interesting. And again, I do need, probably will need, you know, to discuss with my community. But yeah, so you get some inherent effect resistance in her kit here. 15%, 25%, so that's 40% total right there. That's without, obviously she doesn't have innate effect resistance in her actual awakening, not even tree, her star sign. She doesn't have it, so you know, at a 6-star awakened, she has 0 effect resistance, 0 effectiveness. So here you get 40%, and she gets a 5% to all allies here. Her imprint's not that good. It's a flat defense, not that great. But 5% to all allies, that's not bad at all. But for herself, that's 40%. And apparently, I think having high effect resistance on her is gonna be important in her kit. Now, her being a Soul Reaver, she doesn't have anything like, you know, similar to like Strat Gauntlet, so she can't like actually get like up to a 60% effect resistance like a warrior can. So she still suffers the same fate as like all Soul Weavers, except that she has an additional 40% base. I think that's higher than any Soul Weaver currently right now. Obviously non-specialty change. So I can't think of the top of my head here, but I think Diene has some effect resistance, and I'm bringing Diene in here because Diene is still a viable Soul Weaver if you have Rod on her in terms of healer. And she definitely should be in the mix when you're comparing them, but she is a limited hero, so keep that in mind. If you're a new player, you're like, what, Diene? No, she's a limited hero. But 40% right there is really good. Ideally, if you want to run her with high effect resistance, and from the reading of this, I don't see why not. We're gonna get into that. You would give her at least a T85 effect resistance ring, so that's 60 right there. That's 100% right there. If you are running her with the usual effect resistance, type of gear, you would have two pairs of effect resist sets, and then possibly an immunity set. Most likely you would run an additional immunity set and give her a speed boot. She doesn't get any speed increase though, so keep that in mind. She's going to be pretty slow. At a base of 94 speed, she gets no speed in her skill tree here, so not like Ruzid, not like Cleary. With an additional, like, let's say a T85 speed boot, you get another 40, so it's 134. That's definitely not viable, so definitely you need at least a speed set with a speed boot. As looking at that, so if you have a speed set with a speed boot, you're looking at maybe about like 121 or 122-ish speed with the speed set itself, and then another 40 speed, so 160. That's without any speed substats. That's still relatively low. You want to get her about 170. So yeah, definitely scrap what I just said. Maybe run immunity set with speed set. If you're taking this 40% effect resistance into account, you're really removing the possibility of the dual the dual effect resistance set a bit. I mean, you would run that ideally for like Destina if you're running in the current PvP meta right now. We have to face Dizzy, Araminta, ML Araminta rather, and ML Baal. You most likely run Destina with like immunity and then 2 effect resistance sets, and she would still have like about the same speed. I think Destina has like 99, so 5 speed over Montmorancy here, or 98. I could be wrong. Yeah, so it's good, definitely good. If you have like I don't know, like 5 to 10 speed substats in every single gear, and you don't run a speed set, it will still work. You still like easily get like 150, 160 speed, which is very usable. This is only if you're going to use it for PvP though, and high ranking PvP arena. Otherwise, for PvE, just run your standard, like maybe speed set with health set, or speed set with 1 set of effect resistance. You're still gonna get a ton of effect resistance. If you guys haven't checked out my Abyss videos, my Diene running about 120% effect resistance really helped a lot with a lot of like debuffs or whatnot. Just like totally just resists it, ignores it. So Montmorancy here would have a way better chance. Effect resistance all allies by 5%, 10% extra health here. She has pretty low base health actually for Soul Weaver, 4,900. Not that great, but a 10% extra there. Sleep sorcery sleep effect increased by 15%. So I think that gives her about the 75% chance to sleep a target, but it's a single target. And really it's just a filler skill. I think you can get up to a 25% using Malagora, and then this has an additional 15. So if that's 75% sleep, usually you still wouldn't use her S1. It's just a filler to wait for your cooldown to reset, I think. But whatever, like if you put someone to sleep, good for you. So it could still save you. Definitely still a viable option. Increases the caster's combat readiness by 10% after using purification of caster's effect resistance over 100%. So definitely, this is what I meant. I think you definitely have to aim for over 100% effect resistance. And like I said, it's not too difficult. If she has an innate 40% with just a T85 ring, you've already got it, even if you don't have effect resistance substats. But now for those people who have, pulled like a lot of gear and had like rolled, quote unquote salty effect resistance substats, now you can all cheer, because that's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. you know, I think she's good, definitely good. So definitely give her that gear, give her the gear she needs. So if it increases combat readiness by 10%, every time she uses purification, it's not bad. So definitely get it over 100% resistance. But compared to all these like you know, heroes that can increase their combat readiness by like 25%, 50%, like self, this isn't obviously not too great. But why not? Because I think fundamentally her new specialty change really makes her purification, which is her S2, and watery curtain like pretty decent. This is earnest prayer. Earnest prayer, I don't know what that is. Is that watery curtain? Is that what it's gonna be called? I don't know, maybe. Anyways, I'll continue on here. Using purification has a 10% max chance to grant continuous healings to all allies for 1 turn. That's great. And then using purification has a 25% chance to dispel an additional debuff. So the original skill is dispels 1 debuff for all allies. So now this makes it 2, but only 25% chance. And heals debuffed allies. Amount recovered proportional to allies' max health. So, yeah, interesting. Heals debuffed allies only, but I think this changes it now. Yeah. So now, when using purification, has 100% chance to heal all allies additionally, regardless of debuffs. So it really just changes this skill, the S2. So it just heals regardless if they are debuffed or not. So I don't know if the AI, so if you're running this on like on auto, so like let's say if you're farming Wyvern with her, or if you're farming anything with her, how does the AI do it? Because originally, if I remember correctly, her AI for purification, her S2, she won't actually heal, like she wants to use it until someone is actually debuffed, regardless of their HP. So this is going to be interesting. I think they're going to, if it's not changed by the specialty change patch, they were going to change the AI, I'm pretty sure. Otherwise, she's not really good like autoing Soul Weaver. 50% chance to max. Okay, so 50% chance max to reset the cooldown of purification if the caster is now debuffed at the beginning of the turn. So I mean, one, if you have higher effect resistance, it's gonna be really hard for you to get debuffs on her. So definitely run those sets that I'm kind of like theory crafting here. High effect resistance, 100% needed for her. Definitely do that. If you can reset, it's only a 2-turn cooldown too. So I mean, if you can get this like continuously, this is gonna be pretty meta. It's gonna be pretty meta. And then keep in mind that the S3, and you know, assuming that Earnest Prayer is the new S3 name, which was Watery Curtain before her specialty change. Recover all allies and grant immunity for 2 turns, dispelling 2 debuffs. So I mean, however way you cut it, this is gonna be really good for PvE, and then for PvP. Like I said, I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about the rotation of what I've experienced so far. So if you're in like high-end arena, like this is probably like the worst case scenario you'll run into. Something like you know, ML rule, or not ML rule. Rule is rule. So rule or ruel, however you want to pronounce it. Rule, ML Araminta, ML Baal, and ML Dizzy, or sorry, in Dizzy. These are probably like the most cancerous heroes at the moment. You kind of like remove one of those heroes and the team is not as effective, but like probably the worst case scenario I found is probably one of these kind of teams. So if you you know, you might not be able to sustain it. If you don't sustain it, you know, going speed team won't really work unless you can nuke out like all 3 of them at the same time, because Ruel will just, you know, revive one. But looking at like what I'm facing right now, like ML Baal usually goes first for the strip, but then puts you to sleep, and then Dizzy goes second to debuff you, so they have a better chance to survive. But her debuffs, which usually, unless it's built as a cleave Dizzy, won't do that much damage, and it will wake you up from ML Baal's sleep. And at this point, Montmorancy here, no matter if she's debuffed or not, she can still help, right? The only thing is, obviously, she's not as potent as Destina. If you're theory crafting my turn rotation here, by the time Dizzy goes, you have 3 debuffs. Montmorancy will be able to use, you know, 1 of 2 skills. Either you want to do a purification or watery curtain. I would definitely probably go with watery curtain in this case, but you can only dispel 2 debuffs at this point. But you do set up an immunity at this point. So if ML Araminta goes now after your Montmorancy, then they're all safe from being stunned and burned. But if Araminta is usually pretty fast as well. She goes now before Montmorancy gets a turn, then you're pretty much all dead anyway. So I mean, she's not bad. I wonder what kind of artifact I would run on Montmorancy. Montmorancy, if you're using her in PvP and you're taking into account what I'm saying here, you're trying to catch the debuffs so she can remove the debuffs and grant immunity. You really wouldn't want to run Idle Cheer on her unless she's really fast compared to your damage dealer. So let's say for example you run like Kayron or Luna or something, and maybe you have them at like a 120 speed. Then I would say maybe having Idle Cheer would be okay, but you don't want your damage dealer to go before Montmorancy, so Idle Cheer I don't think is an option for her. That's a mistake a lot of people make. I'm realizing in a defense arena when I'm taking them down, they have like Destina there, right? Ideally to like remove the debuffs before their damage dealer goes, but they run Idle Cheer on her, so you just like keep hitting Destina, you pump up their DPS to go up before they waste the turn, then Destina does her debuff like removal or heal or S3, and then it's over because they wasted a turn. So it's kind of like hit and miss. I think Rod on her would work really well. Shamadra staff would work. If you're thinking about PvP, I wouldn't bother with Potion Val on her, to be honest. It would remove, yes, 1 debuff, but on like, let's say 3 of your heroes get debuffed, and not her. It removed 1 debuff out of what, 9 possible debuffs, which isn't really enough. So I think that she needs probably more healing potential. So Shamadra staff or Rod, I think would be probably the way to go. But that's my thinking right now. Maybe I'm missing something right now. That's my thoughts. Anyways, Adventurer's Path added. I think this is the new kind of like tutorial thing where it helps new players kind of get into the game, but you get rewarded while you're doing it. So I think even as a veteran players, we still get the rewards. I don't know if you have to do it again though, but or are they completed? I think it probably says this here, but I'm too lazy to read. Reading between the lines, and I'm not even reading the lines. Wah, wah. If player encounters quests that have been completed once per account, the quest will auto. Oh, okay, it already says it. Okay, never mind. So yeah, I could just done the reading here. I'm gonna speed this up. I think Montmorancy was my focus anyway. Stages, Adventurer's Path. Yeah, this is it's cool. It's all cool stuff. I'm really glad they're doing this. Oh yeah, I want to talk about this too. So Aether now, I kind of like this upgrade. So long story short, I mean, instead of like going through this, a lot of people when they ask like rerolling, should I reroll until I get a healer? Sometimes I don't think that you guys have to. If you guys get like a 5-star damage dealer, you could definitely run Aether as the healer. Now I know a lot of people in my community who are really experienced players will say the same thing. Yes, if you get Angelica, it will make your job a lot easier. Now with Montmorancy having a specialty change, the question is like, do you have to reroll for Angelica? Like, could you like start the game with like a 5-star Vodrid with like, I don't know, like Sid or Corinne in the team, like all like heavy damage dealers, and maybe if you do pull Montmorancy as a 3-star in your select summons, I honestly do think that Montmorancy now on the scene it doesn't mean that Angelica's bad. It doesn't mean that she'll replace Angelica by any means whatsoever, but I do think that Montmorancy now on the scene makes like having to reroll for Angelica not as required anymore. That's my thing, and I might get a lot of hate for it, but it's okay, I'll take the flack. I was gonna say this, that Aether's hero change is pretty cool. So upgraded, basically, long story short, I think the upgrade is basically you don't have to invest in Aether to make him good. I was about to say her again. Feels bad, man. Trapped again. You don't have to really upgrade him in terms of like Malagora investments to make him actually like usable. He'll actually be usable as a healer for quite a while. If you give him proper gear, of course, but it's the same for every Soul Weaver. Like this, like you don't need to like Malagora to remove the skill cooldown anymore. Like additional effects like now 40% to start, 50% max to decrease the speed for 2 turns. So stuff like that really helps. I think really helps out like newer players, because they do know, I think Smilegate does know, that Aether is completely free. Like you literally get him in the tutorial. So it's just really cool for them to kind of like buff him up to make him a bit more accessible for newer players, so newer players don't have to like scrounge and like, you know, which healer do I get, like which healer do I need. He'll help a lot. So that's pretty cool. English voice recording has been added to Sage Baal, and this is on. I can't wait to hear this, because I was really sick of him just kind of like being silent, you know. It makes him more creepy, but now I get to hear his voice, but most likely the same voice actor as the regular Sage Baal, regular Baal and Cezanne. Let's see here. Everything else I think I'm pretty much covered. I don't think anything else is too... Some fixes here. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So let's see here. Summon storage feature has been added. Summon storage feature. Wait, I didn't see this. Icon in the lobby. If a player inventory is full, the hero's artifacts that are summoned will automatically be placed in storage. Wow, that's great. Well, you guys got my first-hand reaction here, because I really didn't actually read all of this. I thought this was just like stupid fixes, and I didn't scroll down. There's no time limit to keeping heroes. That is fantastic. That is fantastic. Well, this really helps me when I'm doing like pull streams or whatever. Instead of going like, uh-oh, you know, I gotta clean my box now. You don't have to do that anymore. That's fantastic. But I wonder how it logistically works. Like, so if you clean up the heroes, do these automatically get added? And if you don't want them added, can you transmission them or sell them on the spot? I don't know. Maybe I missed that too. Serious position. We'll have to wait and see. But that's exciting. That is exciting. Yeah, that means no more interrupted pull streams. Maybe, I mean, this is a smart way for them to make sure you keep on getting rage pulls. You know, sometimes because when the box thing pops up, it's like, oh yeah, your equipment or your heroes are maxed. You kind of go like, oh, okay, fine. You lost the rage, like, to pull more, but now you can continue to rage. That's not good in a way for me. Anyways, I might pull Araminta. I'll have to see. Yeah, for Montmorancy specialty change. Let me know what you guys think about this, guys. I'm gonna end this one here. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. You know, are you gonna specialty change her? I'm assuming you will. She's definitely really good, and even if you have Destina and Angelica, I think she has a different role to play. She has different parts in her kit where I think she like differentiates from other soul weavers enough that she won't actually like be a replacement. She would be an addition, but she's definitely a really good filler. Again, I do think that she has like is she wearing the same thing as Diene? Hold on, wait. I'm looking at my my hero's journal. She wearing the same thing as Diene? Oh, I think it's very similar. I don't know what the lore is. Maybe they're from the same like group or whatever. Oh man, you guys are gonna be like, what the frick, Jagged, man, you don't even know the story. Anyways, Montmorancy, if I get her, if I pull her, yes, I'm gonna definitely specialty change her, and I would definitely recommend new and old players that like to do it. But let me know what your thoughts is below, and even ideas on builds. You know, artifacts. Maybe I'm just, you know, on this video here, I'm just not thinking clearly, or sets that you plan on running. Anyways, it's pretty exciting stuff. So anyways, have fun grinding, guys, and I'll end this one here. So if you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.